Live. This is season two. Welcome back, Legends Live season two. Our first episode is presented by the National Basketball Retired Players Association, the home of all our NBA and WNBA legends. I'd like to remind our viewers you can submit questions during the show. We will answer those before we wrap up. And without any further ado, I'd like to welcome today's special guest. We have got UCLA Bruin. We have former Hornet, Charlotte, and New Orleans. And we have former Golden State Warrior. We've got Baron Davis with us today. Baron, thank you for
my
joining
guy.
us.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, it's a little staticky. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, man? Thank you for joining us.
Man, it's super staticky on this end. I'm sorry.
No, it's no worries. We'll see if we can get you straightened out to make sure you hear me. Is this better, worse?
I don't know if you can hear that, but I
How about now?
can hear you now.
Okay, there we go.
That's better.
Okay, there we go. First things first, how you doing, man? How are you feeling today?
I'm good, man. I'm just hanging, trying to get my Wi-Fi to work so I can live stream.
I'll jump right into it. Something I saw you tweeting about, something that everybody was watching yesterday. What were your thoughts just on the actions we saw yesterday, the people storming the Capitol building in D.C.?
I mean, one, it was pretty shocking to see. Two, I wasn't shocked at all.
Right.
Three, at some point, you learn to care and don't care, right? There were so many questions, right, that were unanswered. In that moment, there were so many questions that couldn't be answered in that moment. And so what I realized was I'm a Black person in America, you know what I mean? And I'm going to make this America what I choose to make it, you know what I mean? And so those clowns and monkeys that were climbing on the goddamn Capitol building, making an ass of themselves, it just, man, it showed me a lot. It showed me a lot, and it showed me where, my power lies, and the power and, building the right community and the community of people, could really have, an important part of, how this country and the rest of the world, see Black people, especially Black people in America.
Right. We'll, as you mentioned, we'll get to some of the things you got going on and got your hand in later. I did want to ask, like we saw the players last night, like the Celtics and the Heat played. They released like a joint statement. They took a knee during the anthem. The Bucks and the Pistons, they each took a knee before the game started. Like, what do you think? What do you make of the statements that the players are making?
Those dudes, when they couldn't play, they were marching on the front line. Those are the dudes who sat out an NBA game because, they responded to the pressure of, what they had to do. And so that has never happened before. And so, I have nothing but the most respect and admiration for those guys because, you have to think about where they are in the world, the pressure they feel, the things that they're doing, they're putting their lives at risk every time they go out there on the court. And I think the most important thing is to really uplift them and to rock with them. You know what I mean? They are built like us. They are, of our basketball DNA. And I think it's extremely important that, we all show unison for whatever they're doing because, that's what we're here for, right? It's for, for each one to teach one, but for all of us to really learn from each other, generation after generation.
Now, you played when David Stern was commissioner. Now got Adam Silver. Like, do you think it would have been, encouraged or perceived any differently under Stern? I feel like he was pretty, open with some of the things he wanted, the way he wanted players to speak out or not speak out. So do you think that would have been different as a former player?
Absolutely not. I think, David Stern was right when he handed over the guard because he saw, the direction of the league and where we were headed. And so, it's hard to say what we would have or could have or should have, done with David Stern, but you know, it was important that he did that at that time because, I think with Adam Silver, you have somebody who understands, um, holistically the power of basketball and the influence that we have on the rest of the world.
Mm,
And, he's not afraid to stand up, for us and with us. So I think it's important that that change of the guard happened because we wouldn't have opportunities like this.
mm. Now, as you mentioned, you felt like part of your, I guess, what you wanted to do was give back. I was looking into some of the companies and some of the things you've got going on. Can you tell me a bit about I Am Black Santa, some of the work you've been doing with the Dear Fathers Network?
Yeah, so I trademarked Black Santa, blacksanta.com,
Mm,
and built a company you wish that is really a multicultural company for storytelling.
okay.
Santa as a model for, we can celebrate a Santa Claus that looks like us, that has our DNA, our spirit, and the spirit and the embodiment of, what a true Santa Claus is, right? So
Mm,
that stop us from, celebrating, holidays, right? We just have a character that now we can have cartoons and, the same thing that Walt Disney did with Mickey Mouse, I want
right.
with Black Santa. And, for us partnering with Dear Fathers, I think it's important for us to see positive Black role models, right?
Definitely.
For so long, you know, even in our past, we've probably been influenced to be, you know, uh, perceived as someone that is tougher than what we should be, or we have been perceived to be, dads who don't love our kids. You know what I mean? Or
Mm,
it's like we don't have, cartoons, commercials, TV shows, movies that show, Black fathers in a positive light, right? And so I think for us, highlighting and partnering with Dear Fathers and just all the things that's happening, we want to reverse that narrative, right?
right.
And I think the more we show who we are, how positive we are, how gift giving, how loving, how we rap, how we dance, how we celebrate each other, right, in a positive way, it's only going to inspire, us to continue to pour into this young creative environment and this next generation, and really, hand down the informational tools that they need, to really be able to take it to the next level.
Mm. And you mentioned you wish you had partnered with Mimo Studios. I hope I'm saying that right to launch Mimo Sports. Now, what is all is going to be, I guess, under that umbrella of the Mimo Sports?
Yeah, so under You Wish, we do a lot of sports content, animation. With Mimo, we're gonna do some live action movies.
Okay.
Uh, Under that umbrella, under the sports umbrella, some podcasts. And, we're looking at the publishing side, the animation side, and, really building out a sports opportunity for us to be storytellers,
Mm,
right? I feel like we're some of the best storytellers, and why can't we use, this opportunity with Uish and Mimo to create, these storytelling, IPs and shows, right,
right.
that see, the same results as we're seeing with Black Santa. And so, Black Santa is one of many, and, I think many opportunities to collaborate and co-collaborate, with this greater culture of, storytellers.
Hmm. Something it's been the news, and I won't ask you, anything about the financial side or anything, but it's been some talk of you and Master P getting into the shoe game with the company Reebok being up for sale. I'm just curious, like, how did that come about? Like, how did you and P link up on that?
We linked up on a call, uh, and some people was trying to put us together and play in the middle. And I was like, man, you don't have to introduce me to P. I know P. P took care. I was
Right.
and,
Right.
and P was like, man, BD took care of my kids when they was coming up, and
Mm,
so the odd man out was the middleman, and that's when P and I decided to really put our brains together and say, there's no more, marginalizing us, right? We have the power, the economics, the wherewithal, the know-how to build our own team.
Yep.
And so, with that, we are set out to, participate, in the negotiations for, Reebok, and, we're putting together the best team of, entrepreneurs, C-suites, operators, investors, and I think to P's credit, he wanted to put that statement out to show that we can be a part of this greater economy,
Definitely.
if we come together. And for me, I think the opportunity is to show improve. You know
Right.
what I mean, and to get it done, and
Right.
be motivated by execution and purpose. And so, you may not see me out, just kind of doing a lot of the media stuff, but at the same time, I just kind of want to start priding myself after some of the great NBA players that came before me that I've kind of looked up and idolized: the Junior Bridgmans, the Vinnie Johnsons, Isaiah
Mhm.
Thomas, a Magic's, so I'm just inspired. Like, we got an opportunity to do something, and it's
Mhm.
great.
Definitely. I know, I'd seen like Allen Iverson mentioned, like he's definitely one of the old, the bigger names when you think and see Reebok. So is that something that AI? Hopefully he's been in the mix here.
Yeah, I mean, right now, it's Reebok is AI, AI is Reebok.
Yep.
A lot of the questions that people are asking are questions that are answers that you can ask yourself. Obviously, Allen Iverson is a huge part of Reebok, part of the legacy, part of basketball history, and
Absolutely.
AI is somebody that for me, it's like this is a huge motivation for why we're doing something like this, because he deserves not only his roses but his just due, and his his seat at the table, because a lot of these big corporations have been built and companies have been built on our blood, sweat, and tears, and
Yep.
injuries, and failures and successes. And so it'll be a great opportunity to be inclusive in what we're looking at, and being able to have a shot at turning a company into a minority, a black owned, minority owned corporate company, in this country. I think the time is now, and it's time for us to start thinking about each other that way. When we are at All Star Weekend, it's time we start thinking about each other and pick up the phone. Legends, current guys who are in
Mhm.
transition, and start to flex and show our power. And so, for me, I'm just humble for the opportunity. When I think about anything that I'm doing, I always think about, you know, that word up top, all the legends, and those are the people that I serve, because those are people that came before me,
Mhm.
and the people that I battled against that, I have the utmost respect for.
Definitely. Definitely. Switching gears a little bit, something else I saw you tweeting about, and we'll get to some of your thoughts about the general season. But you were discussing the other day. Do you think Giannis has reached his ceiling? I thought that was an interesting conversation that you were having.
Yeah, I was having that conversation. Y'all can tune in onto our Slick Sleeper fantasy basketball show called Who Got Game. And
Mhm.
really, we just been having, legends and dudes pop in and really talk about the game. And so that was a conversation that, Stack and the crew we were having. And for me, it's I don't think that Giannis has reached his ceiling, but I do think that, Giannis has a lot of potential and room for growth, right? It's when and where is that going to happen?
Right.
And I think for me, it was more so, you know, I I don't blame players. You know what I mean? I blame systems. because every player, one, he's a back-to-back MVP, but I think that team has they are a very well-oiled machine for regular season.
Yep.
And they never figure out how to play for a championship towards the end of the season.
Right.
So they're always the team with the least momentum, right, heading into the playoffs, right? And I fought that from the fact that Giannis is only playing 30 minutes, or they're just blowing people out
Right.
in the season, or folding, you know what I mean, in big games, or sitting people. I don't really know what it is, but I know that in order for him to transition to that next level, he's gonna have to do that in the playoffs.
Right. So what else have you seen just in general? Like I guess it's week 2 of the season. Like have any, teams jumped out at you? Any players like they've taken a leap? Any rookies you've been particularly impressed by?
LaMelo Ball, of course.
Okay.
I love my LA kids.
Mhm.
Um, I'm glad John Wall is back. Uh,
Definitely.
The Bradley Beal and Russ show. I think people are sleeping on them, especially in the East when you got two guys who can really get down. You know, uh, Obviously being a longtime Laker fan, I love what the Lakers did. But also feel like Paul George has something to prove. The
Definitely.
Paul edition in Phoenix is, an incredible one. It's good to see the Knicks, winning and playing hard, with Tibbs there. So, it's a lot going on in the league, and I just think that everybody right now in these first 25, 30 games, they just shaking the trees, to see, um, who and what is going to happen. But I would say excited to see. I think the East and the West is great balance,
Definitely.
right, top to bottom. You know what I mean? And even you talking about 10 teams in each league that all have an opportunity to be good teams, right? And they
Mhm.
all have super talented, players or a superstar or two that could get hot at any moment. So I'm excited. I'm just excited about the season. I'm excited about our show because we get to feature legends and talk to, different people about, just the raw facts, raw opinion about the game and have some fun.
Definitely. Now, you mentioned you grew up a Lakers fan, played with the Clippers. What do the Clippers have to do for LA to become a Clipper town?
They need to hire me as a marketing
There we
director,
go.
probably.
Okay.
That would be a good start. They got to probably pay all the debt back to all the players that Donald Sterling was racist to, right? They have to do more stuff in the community. So it's a lot of interior cleansing that the
Mm,
Clippers have to do. But I
definitely.
think on the court, they just have to put together kind of like a winning ethos, right? And I think credit to Doc. He tried to bring that, but at the same time, like people say that the Clippers are cursed, and have to be cleansed, and you have to be whole and have a whole new mentality. You know what I mean, and vibe. And so I think that it's going to start with how this team is being built
Mm.
around Kawhi, around
Paul
Paul.
George, Patrick Beverly.
Yeah, and I think them losing Montrezl Harrell was not a good idea.
Mm,
Picking up Nicholas Batum has been a good
very
situation.
good signing.
But I think the Clippers are still a point guard away.
Okay.
Even though I love Patrick Beverly, love his energy, what he brings to the table. I love Batum as another big ball handler and playmaker. Sort of out there. But the Clippers need playmakers,
Right.
right? You have deadly weapons in Kawhi. Sorry about that. Can
Yeah,
you
you're
hear me?
fine. Yeah, yeah. I hear you.
They have deadly weapons with Lou Williams, right? But you have to have that initiator, right?
Right.
You have to have that facilitator that
Somebody set the
knows when.
table.
That's why, they fumbled last year in the playoffs because they didn't have, you know, that person on the court who understood time, essence, score, vibe, rhythm, who all we need
Right.
is a bucket right here. You know what I mean? To
Right. Getting
stop.
Kawhi the ball in the right spot. Or
Yeah, totally.
do you see anybody out there like potentially available that could fit that bill for him? Like it'd be nice to, drop a Chris Paul or somebody on that team, but do you see anybody potentially that they could pick up to fill that?
Can you say that again? It's
Sure,
breaking up.
sure. Yeah, it's no problem. I was just saying, do you see anybody like potentially like they can get in the trade market or free agency buyout market? Anybody that could fill that role for him? Like it'd be nice to add a Chris Paul, but they, the salary cap. So do you see anybody that they could pick up to fit that playmaker role?
Man, it sounds so muffled on this
You
end.
can-
Whatever you did the last time, can you do that again?
Is that better, worse,
Yeah,
same?
I absolutely hate these live streams. Hello, hello.
Can you hear me? Uh-oh.
Yeah, just I can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can't see you, but I can hear you.
Okay.
Now I can see you, but I can't hear
Can
you.
you hear me now?
There we go.
All right, I cannot hear you. It's muffled, but I don't know. Maybe you can like write a question and hold it up, and I can answer it. No, I'm
Okay,
just
yeah, let's see if we got any no, it's no work. Let's see if we got any questions in the chat that we can show up on the screen. We've got one from the real Matt
here we
Money
go.
here.
Now yeah.
Yeah,
What
there we go.
did you feel like had the best? I had the best on court chemistry with. I would say, you know, I'd say it was a lot of dudes. You know what I mean? As a point
Mhm.
guard, like you got to develop chemistry and a rhythm with everybody, right?
Right.
You know, I would say I never played with like a real superstar, you know what I mean, so to speak, but I play with stars, you know
Right.
what I mean, and dudes
Yeah.
who can hoop and dudes who can get down. And I just, I knew where Mash wanted the ball. I knew where I can, me and PJ had our connection. Me and David Wesley, he taught me a lot. Um, you know, the list goes on. Monte, Jay Ridge, Steven Jackson, that was a special team. Jamal McGlure,
Mhm.
that was a special team for me. Um, you know, it I mean, it's just the chemistry with your teammates is like for me everything I strive for. Every year that I try to suit up.
Definitely. Let's see. We got another question here. Yeah, from Cliff. So would love to hear a little bit about the Drew League and the documentary you did about it.
Yeah, so the Drew League is a league here in LA. That it started, way before I was born. But it was a way to keep dudes off the streets
Right.
or good enough in high school and college, but just didn't have nowhere to play. So,
Mm.
it took place in Watts on the east side. And I was privileged to play like when I was in eighth grade because my coach's team, they didn't have another player. And so
Okay.
I remember playing in the Drew and like I didn't pass this dude the ball and he cussed me out. Pick me up, man. And then everybody was like, yo, bro, that's a little ass kid. Like, oh, and then he like had to apologize. I was like, no, it's cool. But
It's all right. Yeah.
I got a chance to play with grown men in an environment like that, and like on the east side, late 7:30 at night on a Thursday, in that type of environment, in that type of, neighborhood. And, for me, it was like to take the Drew and to show its evolution of a little engine that could in the documentary and show how it's now become one of the top, summer leagues across the country.
Definitely. Let's see. We got another Drew League question. K Crush says, who is the greatest non-NBA Drew League player?
The greatest non-NBA Drew League player is, I would say, it would be Gumby, Kenny Bruner. Um, it's a lot. Raymond Lewis, but I think he did play in the NBA. John Staggers. Just a lot of dudes who, in LA should have made it, and should have had careers in the NBA. And, unfortunately didn't make it.
So we got a question from Mike here. Mike says, of the thousands of posters you have put people on, which one was your favorite?
I really got no favorite. I wish I had like a highlight reel of all the big dudes. I dunked on some 7-footers, but I would say, the Garnett one was special. For me, I always remember the one when I dunked on Vin Baker because he thought he blocked the shot, and that was just a funny thing to me, dude. It was the funniest thing. I was, it's just all of them to me was something that was memorable because, you know, I used to practice on the dunk courts, right? And once I learned how to dunk on the dunk courts, I would catch dudes that were way taller than me. And I was just like, Lord, if I can do this in the NBA, you know what I mean? Like, I catch a couple bodies. And so it was quite fun going that route.
Let's see. I think that may have been our last few question. One more thing I'd like to ask all our legends. We're putting together a playlist. We just dropped the first one, so you'll be our first track on season 2. Give us a song, anything that you listen to when you on the road, working out, in the house, playing golf, anything. What are you listening to these days?
What am I listening to these days? I'm listening to Bard Oatmeal.
Okay.
That's my own album.
Okay. Like, you guys see how it sounds? Okay.
Yeah, it's coming out this year. So, people have been telling me to put my album out. So that's what I've been listening to mostly. But, I do listen to like Kendrick, J. Cole. I've been listening to a lot of her.
Okay.
Yeah, that type of vibe. And then, I DJ. So it's 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 10s, 20s.
So you playing it all.
60s, 50s, going,
Play a little bit of everything. And before we let you go, so where can we, find out more about some of your business ventures? Like, where can we hear the show, see the documentary? Like, tell the people where they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me personally. You can find me at I am Baron Davis or Baron Davis on any of my socials. BlackSanta.com. That is a website for multicultural content for holiday characters. And then slicksports.com. That is our sports site where, it's sports, lifestyle, and culture. So an insider perspective on the game inside the game. And then at Big Summit is bigsummit.co. You can check us out where we're having, a lot of the business conversations and interviews and town halls and things of that nature.
Got you. Well, we'll definitely check you out there. Baron Davis, we won't take up too much more of your time. Thank you so much for joining us, man.
Thank you, boss. Have a good one.
Of course. You too. And that'll do it for this week's Legends Live. Got new episodes live every Thursday. We'll be back at 5 p.m. Eastern next week. You can catch us on the NBA Alumni Twitter page, the Facebook, the YouTube, and the Twitch. I'd like to remind viewers you can watch replays of any episode, season 1 or again season 2, legendsofbasketball.com/Legends Live. You can catch the audio replay if you search for Legends Live on Apple Music, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. So I'd like to say thank you to Bridget behind the scenes.